Now, you might be thinking, that doesn't seem to match up what happens in the movie at all.
Right, but I always notice it's based on a true story, so I was like,
Well, here's
It's inspired by.
Okay, but he was literally in prison during the time that he was supposed to be doing all the stuff that happens in the movie. And that's because nothing that happens in the movie is real. This is all bullshit.
What? Wait. What? But wait. What?
Catch Me If You Can, Steven Spielberg, Leonardo DiCaprio are also victims of Frank Abagnale's con.
Shut the fuck.
It is all a lie.
Stop it!
Here we go. 1, 2.
Richard tried his mashed potatoes. E.T. would like a Reese's Piece. This child robot's out here looking for love. 2 mice fell in a bucket of cream.
The Oasis is where we go gunting. Bingo, Dino, DNA. Indiana Jones and his Greaser's son find ancient aliens from outer space.
So we made this change to our podcast. Talking Spielberg until school reconvenes. We're ambling on bikes, our parents got a divorce. This is the temporary load-bearing beast.
Hello, this is the Load Bearing Beams podcast, and it's the summer of Spielberg. I'm one of the 2 little mice, Matt Stokes.
And I'm part of the bucket of cream, Lacey Roth.
You're the stronger mouse who churns the cream into butter.
I'm literally the bucket, Matt. Everything's happening inside of me. I've already told you.
You contain it all. We're talking about Catch Me If You Can.
2002, Leonardo DiCaprio. Tom Hanks, 2 of the best people in the whole world.
Yeah. This is a movie podcast. Lacey and I are married to each other. We talk about a movie each week. Our normal format is one of us picks a movie that we loved a lot in the past, and now we're going to put it to the fire, put it to the trial.
With the other person being not having seen it or not really familiar. But the Spielberg summer is breaking those rules because, you know, who can run away from a Spielberg hit?
Right.
I can't. But this movie does fulfill half of our normal formula, which is that it's definitely a top 20 movie for me of all time.
Yeah. And I've seen it a million times. I really loved it a lot as a teenager, had it on DVD, watched it a lot. It was like a movie, like if family came over and they wanted a movie to watch, it'd be like,
right.
Oh, Catch Me If You Can.
No one could be mad at this movie.
Big crowd pleaser.
Pleasing.
Do you remember the first time that you saw it?
And you said it came out in it came out in 2002, so I'd have been a senior in high school. Leonardo DiCaprio would have been a draw for me to go to the theater. So, I mean, I likely saw it in theaters, but I have no idea. But once I did see it, it became completely ingrained and just like, yep, this is enough of a heist, enough of someone who's just fucking wildly intelligent at what they do. 2 people who know what they're doing. I love a smarty pants.
You love con artists.
I love con artists.
You love con artist movies.
I love anything with a lot of moving parts. I like anything that shows you like the way people get away with what they do and the links they'll go to do it.
There was a period of time where like I'd walk into the room and Lacey's like, I'm like, you're watching the Firefest documentary again?
I love that.
You're watching both the Netflix and the Hulu Firefest documentaries.
I always watch them together.
And you'd seen them over and over, and then I'd get sucked into, and there's just something about a fucking con artist. But my favorite kind of con artist, which I would not say Frank Abagnale in this movie is the one who like, if you sat them down and were like, tell me what's the truth? What do you actually believe? Like they would just freeze. They don't even know what reality is.
Well, because the Abagnale, he's just wildly competent at doing whatever. He seems to be a highly intelligent, resourceful person with a bit of sociopath, he's missing some kind of blocker that would make most people ashamed or scared to do something. So he's very reactionary, and my favorite kind of con man is the long thought out, plotting, meticulous, right? The person with like this big end game in mind before they start. That
anticipates your move and then reacts to the move you haven't even conceived of yet. Because they've already formulated that into the long con. Yeah. So, okay, you always loved this movie. What'd you think this time? Still stands up?
Loved it again. And the same things that creep me out or make me sad in the movie now are the exact same ones.
They creep you out.
It's Christopher Walken's. He's very Christopher Walken in this. Yes, it's like it is the Christopher Walken impression I'd go to if I were doing one. But he's I know he's supposed to be a loving father, I assume, but there's something about adding like kind of the criminal slant to him that he's got going on with, you know, he's a schemer and a liar, that makes his parenting kind of weird to me and sometimes creepy, but the like doting just admiration that the way Leo plays it, it confuses my brain.
It doesn't track for you?
No, because
it's definitely intentional that he is
a little,
that he's a creep, that Frank Sr. is a little skeevy.
Well, skeevy, yeah, but then there's creep too. And so like I just for a boy that age to like have so much loving and just all looking at his parents dancing, and so like I'm not buying that. I know they're just trying to show like he's got this really charmed life, but I guess if I have a complaint, it's that maybe there's not enough setup to show me why he's driven so much by what ends up happening with his parents to go to these great lengths. It seems his mischievous ways are not triggered until things start to go wrong with their life. He seems to have a charmed life and just be a sweet little boy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Once you get to the part where he's pretending to be a substitute teacher, you start to think like, man, he's probably always done little things because his dad's far too pleased and not shocked. And neither of them are shocked.
He sees his dad pulling little grifts. But I agree with you. I think that this part of the movie used to work really well for me, and now it doesn't. And Christopher Walken, when the movie came out, people were like, oh, this is a good, fun time. Christopher Walken is great. This is like a comeback for him. He was nominated for an Oscar for this role. And he is good, but as the emotional linchpin of the movie, or that the movie wants it all to rest on, I don't buy it. It doesn't work emotionally for me.
Not at all. I can't think of a Christopher Walken performance where he isn't someone I feel like I'm supposed to like not be able to predict. You know, he's a wild card. He's not a loving dad. He just isn't.
And I don't think the movie wants you to think he's creepy. I think wants you to think he's like
charming.
He's he's not a good role model, but you can see why Leo would love him so much and love his mom so much.
Fun, right? They're fun. They're not the best role models together, but they've got this great family lore, and they're people who have really dramatic origin stories tend to share it all the time. And Jesus Christ, Frank probably feels like he's part of some kind of magical origin story. Mm-hmm.
When Christopher Walken is dancing with the mom and he like dips her and then gives
at his son
this
like,
look.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck her later. And
it's like there could be a version of this movie where this could all be like, you're doing all of this to save this family. This family was already fucked up, but Spielberg doesn't want to do it. Spielberg, who is obsessed with divorce and the way his own family was torn asunder.
Right.
It's like the greatest tragedy in the world is that this kid had to choose who he wanted to live with, his mom or his dad.
That part is severe and wild. That a divorce would ever go down like that. That the attorney would ever be the person who is giving the instructions to the child. That I can't imagine even in that time, it was up to the kid who he was going to live with. And just like the most basic psychology would tell you that's not something you leave to the child, but so that part's a great thing to trigger him leaving. That I buy that because it's traumatic.
Yeah, I could even see like the attorney and the family's probably like, he's like 16 years old, like he can make the decision, but the movie knows like actually a 16-year-old's not equipped to make that kind of decision, right. Especially with the parents right there and like, son, just go write down which of us you love and the other you don't love. Go ahead, please now.
Right. And not to mention the way they do it is for some reason they're all in the bedroom and a man comes out of the mom's bedroom, which is the first thing that happened to show Frank that his family is not dealing well with losing the house and being investigated by the IRS. Yeah, things are slipping up because now his mom's cheating and this man comes out of her bedroom again and he's ready to fucking fight. He's like, no, I'm not who you think I am. I'm the divorce attorney.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's all very...
Leonardo DiCaprio, we talked a lot about him in our Romeo and Juliet episode. We were divided on him. You loved him in that movie. I'm not too big on early Leo.
This is still pretty early.
No, I know. I really wanted us to watch Gangs of New York this week, Instead, we just watched Mad Men a lot. Mad Men has a lot in common with Catch Me If You Can, actually. Don Draper, when anything goes wrong or he's confronted with something he's done wrong, he runs just like Frank Abagnale does in this movie.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like gauge, okay, how is Leo evolving as an actor at this point? And I think he's really good in this movie. But for me, this movie is, it's Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks in this movie. Whatever emotion I feel about this movie comes from how Tom Hanks as Hanratty cares about Frank, the
100%
guy he's chasing.
I'm not moved by the partnership of, you know, the people Leonardo the relationship he makes with Brenda and all that. That's not moving at all. Anything Frank touches feels destined to fail. So yeah, it's absolutely the steady hand of Hanratty. It's a crazy name. I could have just said I agree. I realize that now.
I still really like this movie. I think it does sort of play. My opinion of it has kind of gone down. It doesn't work for me the same way it used to. And I think even like the John Williams score, I don't like as much as I used to. There's just.
I'm glad you ruined that for me at the end of the movie, because then I couldn't stop singing Little Mermaid. The rest, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast.
I got to get a clip of that to play for people. That's all I heard. But the main theme, which is the.
Right, the Pink Panther-esque thing. I mean, even opening credits are supposed to make you think of Pink Panther.
They're supposed to put you in this headspace like, oh, I know what I'm watching.
We're about to get up to some hijinks.
Is really sad.
It's sad. Yep.
So it's a really fun movie, but I think ultimately kind of a failure. I don't know. I like it a lot.
It's meant to be cat and mouse, but you're not supposed to have the cat and mouse like fall in love. They're not supposed to form this like father and son thing. And they're both super lonely people. You want them to have each other. You're so relieved by the ending, like, oh, good. Neither of them are going to be alone anymore. That's not the fun thing they're going for, but I'm okay with what they ended up with. I love it.
All right, you want to learn about the real Frank Abagnale now. Okay, in our history of Catch Me If You Can. Frank Abagnale Jr., the real guy. So I'm going to read a couple quotes from him. This is what he told Johnny Carson in his first appearance on The Tonight Show in 1978. Well, basically, at the age of 16, coming from a little town in upstate New York, my parents separated when I was 16. Kind of emotionally bothered me, and I couldn't get my parents back together again. So I ran away from home and found myself in New York City without a job, with no money. End quote. Okay, 1994, in a speech, he says, quote, when I was 16 years old, I successfully impersonated an airline pilot for Pan American Airlines for 2 years until I was 18. At the age of 18, I became the chief resident pediatrician of a Georgia hospital where I practiced medicine there for about a year. At the age of 19, having never been to law school in my life, I took the state bar exams in the state of Louisiana. I passed the bar and became a licensed attorney. Before my 19th birthday was over, I was appointed the assistant attorney general of the state. I know I'm reading a long quote. Where I practiced law in that position for about a year. At the age of 20, I was a college professor at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. I taught 2 full semesters there as a PhD. Of course, before I was old enough to drink, I was a millionaire twice over. End quote. And then one last quote.
Wait, when does Hanratty catch him?
One last quote. Quote, I was proud of the fact that I never swindled an individual, just companies that could afford it. End quote. Okay. He was born in 1948. In 1965, he was sentenced to prison for stolen checks. He spent much of the time between the ages of 17 and 20 in a state prison in New York. He would be arrested multiple times in the late 60s and early 70s for fraudulent checks before ultimately settling down in Houston and beginning a public speaking career. This ultimately led, in the late 70s, to him appearing on To Tell the Truth in 1977, just like in the movie.
Yeah.
And that led to him appearing on The Tonight Show. Lots of high-profile media coverage, wrote his book, Catch Me If You Can, in 1980. It was a bestseller. Now, you might be thinking, that doesn't seem to match up what happens in the movie at all.
Right, but I always notice it's based on a true story, so I was like,
Well, here's
inspired. It's inspired by.
Okay, but he was literally in prison during the time that he was supposed to be doing all the stuff that happens in the movie. And that's because nothing that happens in the movie is real. This is all bullshit.
What? Wait. What? But wait. What?
Catch Me If You Can, Steven Spielberg, Leonardo DiCaprio are also victims of Frank Abagnale's con.
Shut the
It
front-
is all a lie.
Stop it!
Frank Abagnale never pretended to be a doctor. He never pretended to be a lawyer. He never traveled the world as a fake airline pilot. He never passed $2.5 million in faulty checks. He never escaped from an Atlanta prison. He never worked as a security consultant. He never worked for the FBI. There is no Carl Hanratty. It's all a lie.
What the fuck?
Yes. Okay. My source for this is a book that came out in 2020 called The Greatest Hoax on Earth, Catching Truth While We Can by Alan Logan. If you're interested in this story at all, read this book. This book is a blast.
Dang, bro.
And okay, you're like, okay, 2020, that must be when they debunked his claims. Okay, that's when the story came to light. Nope. Since the 70s, newspaper articles would appear. People would appear at his conferences and say, he's not telling the truth. This is all very easy to debunk. You say you taught at BYU. We called BYU. They said, no, you didn't. You need like 2 ecclesiastical references to teach at the college. You said you were admitted to the bar in Louisiana. Nope. No record of that. You said you worked at the as an assistant attorney general for the state of Louisiana. No. And he would always be like, well, they're embarrassed to say that I did.
Did he at least say that? Well, did he say that he dated the daughter of that man, or that was something the movie was just adding for fun?
So I didn't read the book. I started to read it and ran out of time.
I was just curious if he got the names of the people he worked for at least right. Like, did he at least research who actually would have been in positions at those institutions at that time? Like, what did he do to bolster those
I'm going to
things?
explain what he actually did.
Oh, God, give it to me.
And I need provide a little clarity on what I just said. The book that I did read is The Greatest Hoax on Earth by Alan Logan. That's the story of Frank Abagnale's debunking by Alan Logan. The book I did not read is Catch Me If You Can, the book by Frank Abagnale. I have not read that book. So I don't know what specific claims he makes about, well, I don't even know if there is the Amy Adams character in that book. And if there is, what claims he made about her and her family. All my information comes from Alan Logan's book, The Greatest Hoax on Earth. Now back to the episode. Okay.
This is wild. Him and Spielberg are so much alike.
The whole... one reason I was so excited to read this book is that his claims were so easy to debunk and people were doing it. Newspaper articles were doing it. And then what he would do, because he never actually worked as a security consultant. His whole career was, I give speeches about the fact that I do security consulting. Yeah. And he would always start his speeches by saying, like, I'm really reluctant to talk about my life and my exploits, but I'm going to share this story with you. And he would tailor the message depending. If you're speaking at a church, you'd say, now this is what led me to Jesus. If you're speaking to college students, he's like, this is how you can stay away from being conned and from a life of crime. But it was sort of like the Donald Trump thing where, like, at some point he stopped doing real estate and just started doing marketing and branding.
He's just an influencer.
Like, you don't actually do the central claim that you're up here talking about.
Most people who write a book, the book is just about how to have enough bullshit to write a book about and then just go talk about it. Like, they're all people that are trying to show you how to change your life and make lots and lots of money and be happy. And it's like drop shipment company and exploit. It's all a scam. It's a scam to hold up their scam, and then that makes little baby scams
all the way down.
It's a multi
level marketing.
I mean, no, I know it is a Ponzi scheme, but there's just like 100 Ponzi's.
Yeah. What this reminded me of,
it's a mountain range.
What this reminded me of was Manti Te'o. Do you remember this?
Yeah, that had the dead girlfriend. He's Hawaiian.
Yes, and in the 2012 season, he played for Notre Dame, and the media found out he had a girlfriend who died, and like they turned it into this big inspirational story because Notre Dame was really good. And it's like, I'm playing for her memory.
But
and then
he said he'd gotten catfished.
Well,
right?
but the way this,
or was his cousin?
Let me explain. So I was on the internet at my job because remember when you had a job and you could just spend all your day on the internet? That was nice. On Twitter, Deadspin tweets, Manti Te'o's the dead girlfriend is a lie, is a hoax. And I click on it and it's like one of the happiest memories of my life is reading this story. Because the reporting in that...
dead.
Well, the reporting in that was so simple. It's like, we contacted Stanford University. Can we have any information? We can't find any proof that this girlfriend ever existed. And it was like the basic amount of due diligence that none of the big media companies had done. They just loved hearing this story.
Yeah.
And with Frank Abagnale, none of the organizations that hired him ever bothered to see is any of this true? Do you actually work for the FBI? Do you actually do security consulting?
Who wants to be that wet blanket?
not just that, but like you're on Johnny Carson, you must be legit. You have this newspaper article, you must be legit.
Each thing, right? It's like the Daily Wire is like famous for using itself as a source, because like they publish and they have media broadcasting, so it's just like today in the Daily Wire, whatever. And it's like, but you're the Daily Wire.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
So do this, listeners. Just Google, did Frank Abagnale work for the FBI? And Google's AI summary will say, yes, he did. And then you'll read, what is that coming from? It's coming from AbagnaleandAssociates.com.
It's all about SEO, baby.
So here's what he actually did. He wrote bad checks. He stole blank checks from people he knew and from small businesses, and then he used those blank checks to make purchases for himself. He stole from families. He stole from small businesses. He stole vehicles. One time he put on a pilot costume and used it to stalk and harass a stewardess.
Oh, God.
And he reportedly, lots of different people say he smelled bad, which I thought you would like to hear.
You know what that does to me.
So
all I'm going to think about now. What was that movie or show?
I need more than that.
It was about a person who had it's the Holdovers, right? That the main character,
Paul Giamatti.
right? He had some kind of
smells like onions or something.
No, but he was some kind of just hormonal imbalance that made him smell terrible. Mm-hmm. Can you fucking imagine? I mean it. Like,
no,
there's nothing
terrible.
you could do. You would repel people your entire life.
And
I'd scheme too.
But the people would be like, but it was like weirdly part of his charm. He just smelled so strong. It's weird. Like you like find these things about really powerful people is they have this weird smell. And it's like, I don't know, something about
There's
it.
Something comforting.
Like one of his victims said they suspect it was fear. He was always afraid of getting caught. But he couldn't show it. So it secreted out in a smell.
So BO?
BO. So yeah, like his crimes were extremely banal, extremely low rent, and he was always caught immediately.
Catch me, damn it. Catch me if you, damn it. Catch me if you can't. God damn it.
You could.
You just keep catching him.
So, okay, he spent 3 to 4 years in prison, gets out, and then does the pilot thing. There's at least one documented case of him actually getting a pilot's costume on and then deadheading, which means, it's literally from a costume store. Because he spun that into, I called the airline. Where's your outfit supplier? And he did get to deadhead, which means you get to go on another airline and just hop a ride. But he didn't sit in the cockpit. He went and just sat in the passenger seat.
Which is usually where because I've definitely gotten on flights where there's pilots sitting in the front of the plane. And I'm always thinking, what's he doing up here? Mm-hmm. Back.
And it was because he didn't want what happens in the movie to happen, is for them to ask questions, because he would fall apart immediately.
And he smelled bad. So his cockpit is small.
So he's out of prison for about a week, and he, on a flight, sees this stewardess named Paula from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and basically starts stalking her. Now, she's polite. She's like, oh, I'm not interested, but she wants to be polite. She goes out to dinner with him, and he keeps showing up wherever her plane lands. And he's like, I brought you flowers. I want to buy you an expensive
Take
gift
you out
or
for
something.
A steak dinner. Did you drop this?
And she keeps saying, like, he was nice. I wasn't interested, but I didn't want to be mean. And then eventually
industry.
She lands in New Orleans. He's there, and she's like, I'm going home to visit my parents in Baton Rouge. He's like, I'll give you a ride. She's like, fuck, I don't want to be given a ride, but okay. He drives the hour and a half from New Orleans to Baton Rouge and drives 15 miles under the speed limit because he's in a stolen car and his license is revoked.
Okay.
Gets to her parents' house. Her parents are so charmed by him. And the evening ends, and they're like, Frank, if you're ever in town,
oh God,
please come by.
You don't.
And the mom is like, you don't know how to fish? I'd love to take you fishing sometime. So like a week later, he just shows up. I
can't say what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking it.
I feel it.
Okay.
He shows up and he's like, hi, I'm here to fish. And so Paula apparently gets a call in the coming weeks from her parents and say, hey, Frank, your friend lives with us now. So he moves into the parents' house.
Oh my God. This is a nightmare.
Yes. And they love him. He's so charming to them, and they're like, it's too bad our daughter isn't interested in him, but we have a little cousin who might be. So he starts dating the cousin. He starts taking the family out for nice dinners and everything. Eventually moves out and basically gets caught. And his scheme is he literally just takes checks from the dad and then signs the dad's name and writes checks.
Doesn't the dad notice he's getting deposit?
I guess when you don't have electronic banking, it takes you a while to notice.
Oh, yeah. this is definitely, or even in the movie, you realize you're watching something that just wouldn't happen now, but it is fascinating to watch people game the system when it could have been gamed.
Right.
It's why Deadwood is so interesting. It's like, oh, they could do anything.
They could do anything.
Murder's okay.
In the movie, and the real Abagnale would, like, he'd go into basically a region, speak in the college circuit there, and then somebody would write an article saying this guy's full of shit, and he'd just move on to a different section of the country.
He's a fucking abusive priest.
Yeah.
It's how you hide anything. I listened to a whole podcast series on how this is what happens with bad doctors. It's too big of a shame on the institution for a doctor to have malpractice. So they don't fire, they just ask them to leave. So so a bad doctor, and even one that's not really a doctor, because that's what happened, can just go and like nearly kill people and re-injure and all over the fucking country. Because
the institution doesn't want to say we made a mistake or this is on us.
It's a huge deal, especially for like a smaller hospital. So like they target, like a charity. I don't know if it would matter, charity hospital, but like one of those ones with a Catholic name, one of those.
And you wonder, like, okay, so the internet didn't exist, so like only the people in the local market would read the paper, but he's still out there. He's still successful speaking. Like, I think that this would still,
What?
Yeah. Like, I mean, how many things are disproven that people want to believe that they still, I mean, the war in Iraq, to name a dramatic example, he would appear on like he was interviewed by Tom Brokaw, and Tom Brokaw didn't challenge any of the things. Brokaw. No, Lacey. He was interviewed by Tom Brokaw. Lacey thinks it's Brokaw. I will never resolve this. Tom Brokaw never challenged him on any of his claims. And I think that a lot of this is just because, like, but this is just a fun story. Why are we going to do our due diligence on this?
No, right. This is our fluff piece. This is our, like, what? I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
You really dropped a bombshell on me.
That's why when we did our episode on Overboard, and we covered the real life story of the Overboard woman, and I could only find reports from the early 80s, I was a little skeptical because I know that these sort of human interest stories or these puff pieces are not diligently reported.
Because the stakes are low.
Yes. So it's like, woman reunites with her family. Did she want to be reunited with her family? Was there a reason they were estranged and the parents hadn't talked to her for 5 years? And maybe it's not a happy ending that now the woman who has no memories is reunited with the family.
Because they didn't follow up. It affects one family and one woman. Mm-hmm. All that's interesting is the thing that happened to them. They don't actually care about the person or the people that get affected by these things.
So that's Frank Abagnale. The only cons he did were like shitty, like harassy.
Not shitty harassy.
and
not like hand ratty at all.
The most basic shit you could do. I could take a blank check and write somebody else's signature on it. He never worked for the FBI. He's not a security consultant. He's like, I help big businesses protect themselves from white collar crime. And they like call up the business. Is this true? And they're like, no, we have no record of ever working with him. It's fine. Go look him up right now. He's still doing speeches, getting interviewed, getting cited, but you will also find articles that are like, this guy's full of shit.
Okay, but what he then went ahead and did something that is exactly like what he's saying he did. I mean, just the gall you'd have to lie this much and to even go into small institutions and give a talk on fucking anything. I mean, he is what he says he is in a way.
He's a con
still
artist.
A huge con artist. But you're right.
The scorpion thing, not, like you knew what I was when you picked me up?
No. You knew how I smelled when I picked you up. Because you're right. Because I mean, oh God. And even the dad character in the movie kind of hints at, like, you're a doctor, a lawyer, a Lutheran. It's like, he really is picking only the top 5 things a little boy would say when they're growing up. That we should have smelled shit right away. Just like, I mean, one of these things and then like 3 lesser things becoming all these things. Mm-hmm. Damn it.
And the movie treats these.
I love a wonderkind. Oh, God damn it. We have to talk now about Spielberg because
the movie treats it really breezily. You're like, well, wait, how would he do this lie? And the movie just treats it funny. Like he watches TV and he's like, do you concur?
Right. We watch him kind of fumble and fuck up, but because he's so confident, it just keeps going.
Well, and because everybody else is so insecure and just assumes you carry yourself, you dress nice, you must be telling the truth. The author of that book, Alan Logan, said he watched the movie, he liked the movie, but he was like, something doesn't seem right about this story. And now watching the movie, like, yeah, I know it's not supposed to be fact. It's not a documentary. It's not a reported piece of journalism.
But I thought like the main bullets were going to be, damn.
You know what else? If you like, there's videos on YouTube that are like fact versus fiction, catch me if you can. And they'll be like, but what they're using as a source is the book, Catch Me If You Can. They're like, in reality, Frank didn't actually do this. He actually did this.
It's just like the Walmart version of the thing, but it's still the fucking thing.
Yes, no, the book is the bullshit. That's ground zero. Spielberg, I couldn't find any record of him being confronted with this.
Stop it.
Yeah.
What about Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, nothing. All right, let's talk about the development of the movie.
Because this is what being conned is. It's shameful.
Yeah.
What about Tom Hanks?
No, nothing. I didn't look. If it exists, I didn't find it. And like my attitude about history-based movies is I don't care if you don't get the history right. This is a little different because it's like
the FBI part was important to me. For some reason, going to jail and then vindicating yourself and Hanratty existing all kind of mattered to me.
What I had always heard was Hanratty's a composite character, which is like, yes, okay, that makes sense. It's not the same guy. But,
right.
And he actually was close with an FBI agent. But no, none of that is true. But this isn't getting the history or like the dates wrong or making composite characters. This is the very premise doesn't exist.
Yes.
And not in a Fargo way where you just pretended like this is real.
Right.
You were also the victim of a con.
You sold us this story and it had adoring fans for years because it's part of it mattered that it ends. Those 3 paragraphs at the end of the movie do so much for it. It's just like, wow. Mm-hmm. I just felt all those feelings and it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, it being real is a crucial component in your the way you view the movie, which is why Fargo starting with this is based on true events, but that not being true is such a genius move because you're going to view the rest of what follows with like, well, obviously this is silly, but yeah, this is what happened.
Matt, what are you showing me right now? Okay. I would take some Ed Harris any day, and you know that.
This movie, in the 1970s, before he wrote the book, Abagnale said, we're working on a movie about my life story. Dustin Hoffman's going to play me. Dustin Hoffman spent a month with me studying my mannerisms. He's a great actor.
Who said this? I'm sorry?
Abagnale said this in the 70s. And this, too, was a claim that journalists would debunk in real time. Like, we talked to Dustin Hoffman. He said he doesn't know who you are. Doesn't matter. When the book came out in 1980, it was a huge hit. It was optioned. Option means a studio purchases the rights to
first refusal.
Right. Like if they decide they want to make a movie, then they will pay you to purchase it. But until then, you can't sell it to anybody else. So for like 15 years, it just gets traded around until eventually it lands at DreamWorks in 1997 with producer Barry Kemp and screenwriter Jeff Nathanson. And originally, this movie was given to David Fincher, but he dropped out to make Panic Room instead. And that's a very interesting. Like imagine the David Fincher, the Zodiac version of this movie.
It would definitely be a little darker.
Yeah. Then it was given to Gore Verbinski. Verbinski, who would go on to make the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He was in the DreamWorks stable. He had made Mouse Hunt and The Mexican for them, and Spielberg was going to produce. And DiCaprio signs on. That's all built around him. But they cast James Gandolfini to play Carl Hanratty.
That's a different vibe, my man. That is it. Look at his face. I want to squeeze him.
I just want more James Gandolfini performances because he could
also
also
need to watch
be so
True Romance.
Touching. We did it for the podcast. We want to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Verbinski left because DiCaprio was committed to Gangs of New York, and Verbinski couldn't wait that long.
Where did Ed Harris go?
Ed Harris was cast to play Frank Sr.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's hard enough and soft enough.
Spielberg offered the project.
So fucking handsome. Look at his face.
I love Ed Harris. When I was like naming who are my favorite actors. Oh, it's like Gene Hackman, Ed Harris, Tommy Lee Jones, and then I realized I just like old grumpy white men. That's my type.
I need to see some more Tommy Lee. Yeah. I like your list.
But I have a type, and it's old cranky men. Spielberg eventually offered the project to Milos Forman, to Cameron Crowe, and then eventually decided, I'll do it myself. And he decided
forget about it.
Other projects he was working on, like Big Fish and Memoirs of a Geisha. Gandolfini left to work on The Sopranos, so Tom Hanks was cast. But what was fascinating to think is the Spielberg of it all, because this feels like a very personal movie.
Yeah.
And he didn't write the script. Jeff Nathanson wrote it. But, Spielberg commissions the script. He approves the script. If he says, I don't like this, do it again, or I want to see this. So he's very much in control of what happens in the movie. And you see a lot of Spielberg in the movie. And now Lacey.
I had a feeling you were queuing me up. All right. So the story about Spielberg, how he got to start at Universal, the story he likes to tell is he hopped off a tour bus when he was 16 on a summer break visiting his second cousin, and it was a pee break, and he never got back on that bus in the Universal lot. And he walked around, and he just kind of watched them making shows and stuff, just thought it was so interesting, and he wanted to go back the next day, but that day he decided to put on a suit, and he got dropped off by his cousin. He waved goodbye to cousin, walked right past the security guard, and just started networking, baby.
It's
and
like Frank Abagnale. Wow.
It is like that. Then he goes home to Arizona, and the next summer he visits the cousin again. But this time he's going to branch out a little more. This is when he finds an open bungalow, which I don't know why it's called bungalow, but and he buys some sort of like tape numbered things from a photography store, and he puts his name with that stuff he bought on the directory at Universal, so people can find him in that office, C23 or something like that. And then the story goes that, and then I went to college and made Amblin. Like, okay, well, what did the fact that you went to Universal had to do with anything? Like, the story doesn't really make sense because it just depends on what you're telling of it. Because it's like, okay, you did that, but then fucking why? You're just wild. So that version of the story that I just told, that's the one that he told in 2002 when he was being interviewed for The Fabelmans. So that's 2022. That's what I said. So that's his like probably most developed. That's where it is right now.
Because this has always been the Spielberg myth, is he just walked onto the Universal lot and pretended he worked there.
It changes a little bit though, right? Okay. And in this version, he walks right past the guard. This is in 1965. Borrowed a briefcase from his cousin. All right. But so that is something that was just reported in 2022. People are still saying this. They're letting it was a recording of an interview, and it's just like he's just still saying it. But if you go on Snopes, which I hope, is that okay that I use that? Okay. What he actually had was like an unpaid summer like assistant studio assistant to a TV studio department at Universal. Okay, so it seems like he first starts saying this in 1971 to the Hollywood Reporter that in 1969 he was 21. He put on a suit and a tie. He snuck past the guards, like he just left, like he lived there. Like he didn't say anything about this was the summer I was a kid. He's 21, and he found a bungalow, set up an office, went to the people who worked the switchboard, gave him his extension so he could start getting calls. And he was there for 2 years without being discovered. Okay. Again, there's no ending. It's just, I did this thing. And then in 1970, he's talking to somebody for a Jewish newspaper, and he tells them that he had to get by the guard at the gate. That he would lie a lot. So now he's not just breezing in and out, he's lying to guards, and it's just like little things keep changing. 1985, he snuck past the guards for this one, and now he adds the public tour part. And he gets off for his pee break, and he's going to watch all these shows being made, and he runs into a man named Chuck Silvers, who he just starts chatting up, and he tells him he makes films, and the guy's like, oh really? Well, here's a day pass for tomorrow, come back, show me your films. Okay, like huge bullshit red flag. Can you tell me, like, working in an industry of anything, and someone's like, I do that thing. Oh really? Show it to me.
Yeah,
that's never happened ever. So he comes back the next day with 4 8mm films, shows them to Chuck, and Chuck's very impressed, and he says, good luck, I have no more day passes. Okay, cool story, ends there. But here's what actually happened. When he's 16 years old, he took like a long weekend from school between 1963 and 1964. So the dates are all wrong, but I could forgive him for dates. I fuck up dates too. But his dad had arranged with a man named Chuck Silvers for him to be like shown around because he's so interested in filming. Like like he pulled strings and this is a friend of a friend. And so what Chuck Silvers tells Joseph McBride, the biographer for Steven Spielberg, I get this call that some kid is here. He's in high school. He's a real film bug. Would you just show him around? And I was like, fine. And it was raining, so I didn't really show him a lot. We spent the day just kind of talking, walking. He said he makes movies. He told me about them. I asked general questions. That's it. Didn't show him anything. But from that, Stevens kept sort of in touch with Chuck and would like write him letters. And because he wrote him letters, he was then offered that summer to do that unpaid, assistant thing. And let's see. But Chuck didn't have enough pull to like get him a pass. So he got for a couple of days, he was able to just come in, show him a pass, go forward. So it is true that he then just started to have to come up with ways to get past the guards, and he got really good at it. So he's a little bit of a sneaker. He's got an unpaid assistant job. It sounds like it's like off the books though. That part doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you get a pass? So he did have to kind of con his way in for some of the summer. Okay, so the office part is, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm taking a really long time.
No, I love this.
Okay. The office part is that Chuck shared a office space with this middle-aged woman named Julia Raymond. And she, it's just like any office job. She did stuff related to the movies, but it's clerical. It's everyday mundane shit that makes the trains run.
Right.
And so because they share an office space, sometimes they're in an empty desk, and Spielberg's kind of just floating around. Like he's got this assistant job, but most days he's there, he can just do whatever he wants.
I got the sense from the McBride book, and I've felt this way at jobs. Like you get hired, and then the person who wanted to hire you is not there, and nobody knows what to do with, and you feel like a fraud. Like, what am I don't know.
Just gonna type on the computer.
Give me something to do, or don't notice me, or like I don't know what to do with myself.
Exactly. So he's like learning what he can when he can, but like a lot of the time he's just like kind of dumped in this office, and he can use the desk to like work on his scripts, which is really cute because like no one's asking you for these things, my guy. You're just like working on a script here in the Universal Studios, or to make phone calls, not take phone calls. And but what he mainly did in that office was like just help Julie, just bullshit, nothing glamorous. And so she seems kind of pissed now after all these years because like he has like never mentioned helping her out or her. He's mentioned Chuck because he had a title and he did a thing.
Yeah, okay.
But he completely took the whole part out where he did mundane, boring office tasks and in his little unpaid. It's just all very not interesting. And she said that he made up a story about finding an empty office and moving in it like she said, and moving into it. That's horseshit. So yeah, she's just like, no, he's a fucking liar.
Yeah, the myth was like I conned my way and pretended I had like a production deal or a real job, and that's how I got hired to direct an episode of Night Gallery when it was like way more mundane than that. He
got such a perfectly nothing burger of an opportunity that it couldn't even come with the ability to get through the gate. So like he had a connection with a man who had no connections at all, couldn't even get people onto the studio lot for more than a couple days. So the only kind of foolery he did or espionage was just talking his way through the gate every day and making up a reason why he needed to come in there. Yeah. And then he just got shoved in an office, which I guess he felt like was his, but he shared it with two other people and they told him he could be there. Yeah. And he helped like remove staples and shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's
totally normal.
But it feels to me like he felt like he was some nobody. Like, what am I doing here? It makes no sense that I got picked to get this opportunity to direct at such a young age, which lots of people work their whole careers to get. It's almost like I pulled some sort of con on everybody.
Okay, you're making some excuses for him over there. But yeah, I mean, so I was saying when you were telling me about Abagnale, I was like, he really is like that. Spielberg is more like him this way than he was the other way, because
the real way versus the fake way.
Exactly. The real thing Spielberg did was that he's a liar. Like, and that he made his history much more interesting, and he just says, it's showbiz. People like to hear it. This is just what people like. And it's like, well, no, this is just lies. And you're cutting out other people who did know you and would probably like to say that they knew you, except for you. They're not in your story.
Yeah.
Chuck is. And
Yeah, I knew Chuck.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, great. So now I had to deal with your snot-nosed ass, and you don't even mention me. Fuck you. Anyway, so yeah, Spielberg's a liar, but he knows how to tell a good story, and so does Abagnale. And at the end of the day, we just want a story, man.
There was the thing where people had his age wrong. He was 1 year older than the public thought he was.
Yeah, I didn't look into that one.
Well, people like newspaper reporters would ask him about it. He's like, yeah, I'm whatever. Because he really wanted it to be true that he, at the age of 21 or whatever, was able to direct Night Gallery, or whatever the specific claim was.
And you can feel that in the story of Frank Abagnale, right? Because they right away make a big deal that he did all this before his 19th birthday. And I remember being so obsessed with the idea of being a prodigy at something as a kid that when I turned 12, I was like devastated because I knew I was past prodigy age. And then I was like, okay, well then I could just be the first to do something else. And I just kept not finding my thing.
Oh.
Anyway, I remember that clock ticking by like, no, I need to be the special thing. I need either my life has to be this way for a reason.
It was. You're here.
But then I just figured like every kid feels that way. Like they're going to find out they're Harry Potter or whatever. That's why the story works, because everybody thinks that that's going to happen to them.
Yes, I definitely
Everyone's going to be discovered. Everyone's
going to be a big writer.
I mean, I thought I was going to be famous. I feel like that's just a gift that kids get, but that I'd be... something would be unveiled to me of like, no, your real mother and father.
I mean, yeah, that's an ancient feeling people have. That's why fairy tales exist. That's why, ancient stories exist.
So, Spielberg be Spielberg.
That was great history. Lacey, thank you for...
Well, thank you, Snopes.
Snopes is great.
Yeah.
Lacey, yes, I gave Lacey that little assignment. Can you tell me what is like the real...
Matt gave me a little assignment, everybody.
Yes, well...
Maybe later he'll have sex with me. Won't that be sweet of him?
Yes, and you excelled. You went above and beyond my...
Okay.
I
read 3 things, Matt. It's not that big of a deal, but thank you.
You delivered it very well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because I felt like the idea that Spielberg is always telling this myth about how he got his start and that it's verifiably untrue, and that he's always that he for so long lied about his age.
It's interesting though, right? Because you think like someone who, I always want to say a chronological liar.
Pathological.
Thank you. Someone who that is in them to do that at all would just keep doing it, and like we'd keep finding these little things throughout his life. But no, he's completely satisfied with what happened once he did start doing television, but it's or movies. But it's like was so ashamed of this like patch of his life, the patch he keeps writing movies about, really, that he just keeps rewriting that part.
Yeah.
So that he's truly traumatized in these years, and like he just did want something more special. He wanted what was really sad to be something that actually ended up making him into something better than he was, so that it would have been worth it to feel that pain.
He reads Catch Me If You Can, and like the divorce is in there. Although in reality, Frank's parents were both remarried by the time he started doing his crimes, and he wasn't
and the dad
even an
didn't
only
really
child.
Die, because what a tragic way to say the dad died.
No, I think the dad did die when he was
in the
supposed
book?
to. Yeah, 1972.
But what about Frank Abagnale's dad? What about his actual parents?
No, sorry, I was talking about Frank Abagnale's dad. Really did die in 1972.
It's just so specific, the way it happens. But like catching the train, like, oh yeah, doing his poor man post office shit.
Yeah, I don't know
what parts.
I can't wait for you to watch The Fabelmans, because The Fabelmans is Spielberg diving into his own history with his parents and how they got divorced. And it's crazy. So that's coming in 2 weeks. It's
interesting that it's called fable, right? Because that it just sounds like a different word for a liar.
Yep. I mean, that's intentional, but it's also...
Yeah. I didn't know. I thought it was supposed to be like some kind of like just fancier, highbrow way of saying what he thinks of himself. I didn't realize it was supposed to...
I don't know what it's
make
supposed
us think
to,
about,
I guess.
Maybe he's a storyteller. Guess what that means? A liar.
Right.
It's funny. It just depends on how you spin it.
All filmmakers get to a point where they're obsessed with the idea that they're storytellers. I'm just part of a tradition of storytellers. But right, like what you just said, a storyteller really just means a liar.
Well, and they will always defend it as though, like, well, were you not entertained? And in life, do you want to walk away from this scenario where I just told you about my Friday, or I told you about something you will then go tell somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like the oral tradition. I'm going to tell you I cooked something boring on this day, or I'm going to tell you I had a small kitchen fire. Which one do you want?
Mm-hmm. And like Frank Abagnale was like giving speeches to like chambers of commerce and Elks lodges and stuff.
That's where it goes a bit beyond.
And worked his way up into talking to giant conferences. And then he's on TV and everything because people were used to hearing the most boring ass shit. And he came on and told them this fascinating story and then was able to couch it in like, and it's a redemption story because I'm good now.
Yeah, but like how many mischievous little boys at freaking like affluent schools who are doing psycho level shit are being like, you know what, maybe he's like Frank Abagnale and look at him.
And he would get critiqued. Like people would be like, you seem to be like way more into the crime part of your story than the redemption part. Like you don't seem ashamed. You keep saying I'm so ashamed, but you seem like really, really excited by all the cool shit you did.
Right. You only smell really bad when you're talking about the crime. So is that cum?
Is that cum?
Is that cum?
So now we're going to be moving on to talking about Catch Me If You Can, the movie.
Moving on to Cairo.
So Catch Me If You Can, the picture. It's a DreamWorks picture. And Lacey, Steven Spielberg finally did it. He
did
made
it.
a movie just for DreamWorks.
He made the dream.
And it was a hit. It was a big hit. So good for you, buddy. Now I'm sure you're a team player from now on. Of course, DreamWorks only had like a few more years left before
Wait
it
a
was
minute.
dead.
He's always been a team player. The problem is he likes all the teams.
Well, yes. He's a league
not a
player.
loyal team player.
He's a sport player. I'm a
he
fan
goes
of the
where he's
game.
needed. He's a mercenary.
It's like Rob Lowe. When Rob Lowe was at the Super Bowl, there's a famous photo of him where he's wearing a hat that just has the NFL logo on it. It's like,
I would like if it were a half and half.
Go
hat.
teams!
Right. Yay. I just want a good game. Who's that?
Right.
Who's that, Matt? You before every fucking football game?
what, you're shitting on me for
Oh,
saying
I'm
that?
shitting on you, man. Because you also don't always care what team wins. You just want a good game.
That's usually my criteria for the big game for the Super Bowl is I just want to find
Got
it
'em.
interesting.
Got
She
him.
nailed my ass.
Woo!
These opening credits are, well, I wrote in my notes, these are Saul Bass-esque. And then I went and read an interview with the French company that made these credits. And they're like, yes, everybody says Saul Bass, but actually.
Who is this Saul Bass, may I ask? Is he
Saul-
related to Lance Bass?
Yes, he's Lance Bass's father.
Okay.
No, he did famous movie credits and advertisements. The opening credits of Mad Men are very inspired by that
Yes.
aesthetic. They're used in a lot of Hitchcock films. It's a sort of 60s mod, just kind of cool lines and stick figures.
I mean,
and
I'm not-
design in a way that I don't.
I keep saying Pink Panther, but maybe I mean Spy. Is it Spy? What's it's a style like this. It's just a person in shadow, very 2D. And it's a specific style. Is there not a comic strip or like cartoon old called Spy?
I don't know about Spy. Sorry.
What if it's
Let
just
us
Spy?
know.
What
Let
if
us
it's
know
just
if there's a Spy.
Don't let us know.
So they said, like, no, this is inspired by the same kind of 60s French graphic design style that Saul Bass was inspired by, motherfucker. Okay. But Lacey pointed out while we watched this, there should be an Oscar for opening credits, and absolutely.
How's there not? I mean, because why or at least like a fucking golden, nope, not a Golden Globe. What's the one for TV? Emmys, right? Because I mean, I feel like after like Game of Thrones, after that style of credits existed, it's like every show tried to do their version. Mm-hmm. Westworld was really intricate.
Cool credits, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just assume if they're reaching for the stars this way in this very specific kind of art, there must be a reason.
That's why to the Oscars would be like, why would we add another boring category that nobody cares about? Well, I care about it.
I care. But the thing of it is, though, like, why would you strive to be really, really good at this one thing if it doesn't actually make the movie or the show better? Like, what good is it to have kick-ass fucking credits on a dog shit product?
It's part of the product. I mean, this is what makes.
I know, but it doesn't make it better or worse. It can make it a fraction better, but it can't really hurt it too bad if it's bad. Especially
if it's bad. I mean, okay, yes, it's a value add. A credit sequence like this combined with the score gets you in the mood for what you're going to watch. It's a cat and mouse. Ooh, a fun little time. It's a chase.
So as you noted, I do kind of think it sets the tone and the palette a little bit wrong. And because I've seen this movie so many times, I felt that disjointedness watching this. I'm like, this is cute, but this isn't the movie. But
right, that's Spielberg's fault. He miscalculated what kind of story he's telling. He thinks it's more whimsical than it is.
Perhaps, and I think he also probably already had this idea, or someone had this idea, and like this was happening no matter what. You know,
I don't know.
I don't know either. And it's about time we get him on the horn.
Oh yeah, Steven
Spielberg. Oh, I call him Spielberg.
So this is inspired by a true story. So they're off the hook. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Except it's not. It's inspired by a fake story. All right. We open with the To Tell the Truth TV show appearance that Frank Abagnale actually did make in 1977. Seems like a really boring show where three people come out and they're all pretending to be the same guy, and you have to ask questions to figure out which one's the real one.
This is a format that's been going on forever. Now they have like the Jubilee videos that are this. It's just 5 people in a box. One of them's an imposter, and they just stand in the box until they all think the imposter's out of the box. And depending on how many people are left in the box, if you're the imposter, you get a certain amount of money. Or if you get the imposter out, there's a certain amount to split. But the idea is you want to get it. Whatever. The idea is a good idea. Can I tell?
People like it.
Some of them are pretty cringy, but yeah, it's just an interesting format. I mean, the idea of like, can I tell when someone's lying to me? We all think we can. We all think we can, like, ooh, gut check. I can. Yeah, but the problem is, like, the kind of person who would have this backstory is going to be good at lying to you.
No, and nobody can tell if they're being lied to. There are ways to tell if people are lying, but you need like medical equipment to be able to even measure it, because it's tiny, like involuntary twitches of the eye.
Yeah.
The majority of people think they're good at detecting when they're being lied
That's what
to.
I just said. Can you detect when you've said something twice and
you did not just say that.
I said people in general think that they know when they're being lied to.
I'm giving you some data. So the majority of people think that they're good at being whatever.
That was easy.
Like Citizen Kane, the movie tells you the whole story up front.
Yeah.
It data dumps on you, and now you're going to see it happen. And also like Titanic, this is how the ship sank. This is the order it happened in, and now we're going to go see it.
I don't think of the Titanic as telling the story of how the ship sank so much as the story of Jack and Rose.
Well, I got this from Roger Ebert's commentary on Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm.
There's a commentary track on the Citizen Kane DVD, and he said, Titanic actually employed the same device. You see the ship, you see the digital rendering of the ship sinking, so that 2 hours from then, when the ship starts sinking, you know the process that it's going to happen in. So
I also know the time clock. You know, like I know how many more things I've got before it it's done.
And you know things like, okay, this side's going to go up and then go back down, and then they're going to detach, and then it's going to spring back. So when it's happening in real time, you can just focus on the emotions and, oh, Jack and Rose, get out of there. And he has a child and all that. So you know where the story's going to go, all the things he did. He was an airline pilot. He was a doctor. He did some other shit. And it tells you there's a happy ending, I guess, if he ended up on TV after all of this. Jumps to a French prison. Carl Hanratty retrieving Frank from a shitty French prison. And I would assume French prisons are nice. You get like all the baguettes and wine and cigarettes that you could want. You get 2 months of vacation, but no, it's bad. And he's not in good shape, guys. He's coughing.
He's got the whoop.
He's got the whoop. And Hanratty's like
doing some hand wringing. You know,
he's like, I know you're trying to work me here. You're not actually sick, but he actually is. But then he fucking escapes, and then quickly gets caught.
Right, but he is actually the boy can tell the truth. He just also uses everything to his advantage.
Yes, but then
why?
It's 6 years earlier. God. It's 6 years earlier. We meet nice little Frank and his nice family.
They do a good job of making him look like a little boy with his little bangs.
Yeah.
And he's like playing with his toys, and I don't know. He does look childlike. He's Leonardo DiCaprio in general is good at switching just with mannerisms between adult and kid. He does it the entire movie. You know, there's all these moments where you're catching him as being a kid, you know, with sex and just different things that kind of scare him or make him sad. And you're like, oh, he's a teenager.
And he is an actor who at this point looks very babyish and resents that, wants to be seen as a serious actor, wants to be taken seriously like he's think of me like I'm in my 30s. So you could almost see him being drawn to this character. Like, just pretend I'm 10 years older. He can't wait till he has some lines on his face. And
I can't wait. I love when he gets wrinkles. Sure, but I guess I feel like this movie's the exact opposite of what you would want, but fine. This is a movie about a little boy pretending. I don't know that a little boy who's pretending would want to do this movie.
You'd say, I know how to play this. I understand this character. Because that's what I want. I, too, want people to take me seriously like I'm an adult, not like I'm a Tiger Beat idol.
Then quit fucking the whole town, Leo. Fuck one woman. An older, distinguished woman with a sensible style of dressing and maybe a big nose.
Do you follow the romantic exploits of Leonardo DiCaprio?
Do I? Like currently?
Yes.
No.
Would you be able to tell me if Leonardo DiCaprio is married?
I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Isn't that why you... That's one thing why I'm cool, right? Because I have no idea. No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Me neither. I don't know. I don't, when I listen to movie podcasts and they talk about the personal lives and the dating lives of the actors, I'm like, this is the part that I don't get into it, or I just don't find interesting.
I don't agree there. I just don't find it so interesting that I would go seek it out. It doesn't feel, it can inform the performance, to know what's happening at that time, but I don't need to follow them just for the sake of it as people. They can have their privacy.
Right. I agree. I like to know that. As much as it affects the performance.
Like I always like to know when two actors got along or didn't get along, and if the director was chill or not, that kind of thing. That always makes it more interesting to watch.
I mean, tell us about Frank Sr., because now he takes over a part of the movie. He's getting honored by the Rotary Club of New Rochelle. Yeah. Wow.
We discussed this earlier, and you've got two amazing shots as usual that are just staring into my vagina, in a bad way. Christopher Walken just is not, it's a good performance, but it's not what the performance thinks it is. It's not what the movie thinks it is. It's weird. But maybe you need a weird dad to make a son capable of doing these things?
Well, you certainly do, but he's almost cosplaying as like a normal, upstanding family man and local engaged civic guy, businessman.
But so maybe that is part of the performance, because like this dad is wearing a mask and just, I don't even, it's second nature. I don't even think he knows how not to perform what he thinks he's supposed to be at that time. Mm-hmm. And then when he realizes it's rubbed off on his son and now his son's in real trouble, it's almost like he's performing like the doting, the dutiful version. Like, no, I rode the train here. I'm going to ride the train home. And, you really shouldn't do that. Don't give me a Cadillac, or, whatever. He's like saying the things, but then he's like, what you going to do tonight, Frankie boy? You do anything exotic?
At that point, he knows like, I can't benefit from this other than just like imagining living vicariously through your exploits. But literally the IRS is watching me. I cannot take a Cadillac.
Just things. This just seems like a man not capable of being truly genuine and probably not having a good sense of who he is anyway. He probably is a bit of a sociopath. He seems disconnected from a lot of emotion. He loves his son, he loves his wife, but clearly he doesn't love his wife enough for her not to leave him, and he doesn't love his son enough for him not to leave him. So there's something missing from this man.
Well, I think you pointed out, like, when people tell these same stories again and again, and when the dad is obsessed with telling, this is the story of how I met your mother. It was in France after the war. 18 other gentlemen wanted her.
150 soldiers in that hall that night.
She went home with me.
Okay.
And they can all recite the story, but like Frank Jr. like loves the story. Like, he's totally bought in. But watching the movie now, I'm like, this is a con itself. This is a lie that they're telling themselves, that they're this great happy family, because within 4 minutes we find out the mom's cheating on him and everything falls apart.
But also I thought you were pointing out something different. People who are repetitive and who have core stories, who not core stories, but like scripts. Mm-hmm. That they've written, and they need to tell everybody that they meet these things. Like, it's, you've prompted this story, let me tell you, that kind of person,
like a chat bot.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, there is just a little something not warm about that. There's, they're missing a little piece of like the human interaction component of just a laid back person that can just have a conversation with you. Someone who has little scripts probably is a little more uptight to be around. In my experience.
What you've pointed out, and let's sort of like a neurodivergent people, but assuming that's not the case, you might be talking to somebody who's not that trustworthy if they're always telling you the same stories again and again, because it's like they have to follow. Okay, what's the canon again?
They're doing their human performance. That's what I'm saying. They're doing their trustworthy. I'm a good coach. I'm a good dad. I'm a good salesman. I'm here to give you some milk.
That's what they always say.
So you got to perform that just right. That's what I'm saying. There's not a flow to it. And that could be neurodivergence, but that could just be someone who's trying to keep something from you.
And Frank Jr., I guess he tries to recreate this later, but he has none of the tools, none of the understanding to be able to do it or even to understand what it is. But just later he's like, yeah, I guess I should get married now and I guess I should have a family and yeah, it'll all be nice. But then the dad takes the son along on an actual con. Well, kind of a con.
So he takes Frank from school. I mean, he breaks him up and he doesn't go to school that day. And he goes and forces a lady that's working at a tailor or shoe shop to not only open early, but let them borrow a suit, which he uses lies to get that. And then a random gold necklace he has in his pocket for some fucking reason. How's he getting all these? So he lies to do that. And then he has Frank pretend to be a driver and drive him up to this bank, assuming that everyone's looking out of the window at this moment. I don't know. But it's supposed to make Frank Sr. look like a big shit with money because he's about to go into that bank and ask for some money. Mm-hmm. And he gets told no. And he's done this spiel at a bunch of banks.
Yeah, because he's trying to ask for a loan and he's not going to his local bank. He's going into Manhattan to literally go to the Chase Manhattan Bank. And the banker there's like, no, we don't know you. And also the IRS is investigating you. We're not going to do it. And it's like, but this is America. I'm a good guy. And I think there's sort of a thing like banking itself is transitioning from this thing where it's like a local
personal.
Yeah. is literally like they saying we don't know you. Well, now no bankers know you. It's not that we have computers that know you. There's no human element to it at all. But he still thinks like there is. And if I show up in a nice car and have a chauffeur, they're going to be like, ooh, this man.
Right.
We can trust him.
He's operating from a different cultural moment in time. Like he does seem stuck in time, not just with the story of his wife, the music he's dancing to, the way he dresses. He seems to not be doing so hot with going along with something with the times.
He's not. He's the world is leaving him behind in a respect, to a degree.
He had a heyday. This isn't it.
Yeah. And he's like, what if I just act like it still is? Then maybe it still is.
What if I pretend to be the person I thought I'd be by this point?
Yeah.
Then maybe I am.
And he has the line about like, you know why the Yankees always win? Because the pinstripes. Because everyone's always looking at the pinstripes. And DiCaprio,
first he says,
why do the Yankees always win? Because they have Mickey Mantle, which is the actual answer. I mean, because they have players who are good. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, the pinstripes. But like, he's right to a degree that presentation is everything. But also you got to have the horses.
That's the thing, right? Like that's why a con person has to move around constantly because their tricks aren't they're thin. They work for a moment. They work on your psyche in an instant, but you got to be fast. Mm-hmm. That's why they all know sleight of hand for some fucking reason. But you can't do the same thing to the same person twice. So like you just run out. You are the Ponzi scheme. You're going to run out of people. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
the pinstripe thing only works for a minute, right? The Yankees are the Yankees for fucking decades, so it's like
you need a step B. Okay, I'm over the pinstripes. Now what? But basically, now they have to move into a shitty small apartment. The dad comes home, sees Frank cooking pancakes, and he's like, "Where'd your mother go?" And he's like, "She went to look for a job." What's wrong?
This is the most baffling line of the entire fucking movie, and Leonardo's response to it is what makes it so baffling.
Okay.
Where's your mother?
I don't know. She said something about going to look for a job.
What's she gonna be, a shoe salesman at a centipede farm?
Did Christopher Walken just make this up in this moment? Or did someone write this down? What the fuck?
And they both start laughing so hard.
Frank Jr. laughs his ass off. He doubles over. How is that
They speak
funny?
each other's language.
What is the language? Martian? I don't get why
It's Martian.
Does that make her good at it? Because the centipede needs so many shoes?
I think I too wrote this down, was trying to parse this. Now, the main point is
I think I just got it.
Okay.
It would be a good job to have, and it would be the only job that she could do that would actually benefit the family, is if she could sell enough shoes in a day to shod a centipede. Like she'd only if she were a shoe salesman at a centipede store would her little pittance that she would make doing whatever it is she's qualified to do actually help the family. Damn it! I didn't want to understand that. I think it's just the delivery. It's like, it takes it a while to understand what the fuck you mean by that.
I thought it meant more like, yeah, and I'd like $1 million. Like, that's never going to happen.
I guess it works either way, but just fucking Frank Jr. gets it right away. And I'm sitting there as a 40-year-old woman like, what the?
They're on each other's wavelengths, though, in this specifically odd wavelength. And but it also shows you, like, the dad is like, he just diffuses all serious situations with jokes. And we see in the movie, like, Frank Jr. is just unable to handle reality and real consequences, legal and emotional. And when that happens, he just has to run because he has never saw his dad actually be confronted with reality. But then he goes to school.
And we see the con artist in Frank Jr. for the first time. We don't know. Okay, so it's kind of a traumatic day. He used to go to a fancy prep school, and he's being dropped off at this public school for the first time, and he doesn't fit in. He's wearing his jacket even though he's not supposed to. That's a little weird. And he gets bullied instantly by a jock. So it's like, okay, is that his villain origin story? Like, that he gets thrown into that locker and he gets the idea of faking being a substitute teacher, or just, I'm going to con my way out of this. He ends up going to the class that this bully actually is in, and the guy continues to be a dick to him. So he's like, well, I'll show you. Everyone turn to page whatever. He starts writing his name on the board. I'm this, I'm that. And he doesn't just do it for one day. He impersonates a substitute teacher for an entire week and plans a field trip and does other stuff that would not happen in the first week. A substitute wouldn't do this. So he wants to get caught. He's swinging big.
It's one of the great a joke that is just from a cut. You cut now to the parent-teacher conference where you're like, oh, it's later that day. He's in trouble on his first day. And the teacher reveals, no, he's been teaching for a week. He's planning a field trip to a French bakery in Trenton. It's delightful.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm so sorry for my son. And then they leave. And then Christopher Walken goes up to Leo and they like elbow.
And they like actually laugh out loud too. It's my favorite moment between the two of them, actually. It's just because like the whole time I'm thinking like, that dad's proud. Look at his face. He can barely contain how proud he is right now.
The mom is stamping out on the father because Frank comes home and he finds the president of the Rotary Club there, and she tries to play it off like, no, I was just giving him a tour of the bedroom with the bedroom door closed. But Frank, he knows what's going on. Yeah. We've talked about Spielberg and his beams of light. There's tons of beams of light. Janusz Kaminski is the cinematographer, and he also loves the beams of light. So they're all over these interior sequences. It's
interesting the way that he plays this moment. And we just watched the episode with Sally Draper of Mad Men where she walks in on her dad cheating. And they both have the same reaction, is just like this instant awareness that their life has changed forever, and like you just watch their happiness leave them and they just start internalizing it. He does not lash out at his mom. He just becomes really fucking upset and sad and into himself, and she tries to cheer him up, but her and Donald Draper both also minimize it, pretend it's not a thing, try to talk them out of what they saw, they gaslight. And there's something about that reaction to it that continues to make the kid put it in and then like fully store it in the trauma center, because there's something instantly they know that they will never get a satisfying discussion about this, a resolution about this, that it's now their secret and their responsibility, that they're now like responsible for lying to their whoever that they're protecting. It's such a believable way to play it, and it's good acting.
Yeah. And then one scene later, he comes home and now there's another man there and he assumes it's happening again. But no, this is the lawyer. And he says, Frank,
they're all in the bathroom. I'm in the bedroom.
Come over here to the bathtub, take a soak, and
here's your grandma you've never met. She's on the toilet.
Her name is Ev. And sign this piece of paper saying who you love more. Just do it, Frank. Frank, it's not a big deal.
Hey, this is a piece of paper.
So he runs away.
I forge papers all the time, Frankie.
Runs away to New York City. And he's staying in a hostel. He's bouncing checks to this hostel, so they kick him out. And he's just, I don't know how the hell he's doing this, but he's bouncing around place to place and finally gets the idea, if I change the information on my check so that it says I'm 10 years older than I am, then banks will trust me and they'll want to cash my checks. That's his first forgery. So he scratches it out, but they're like, no, we're not going to do that. But then he sees a pilot.
No. It wasn't to cash checks. It was so he could stay at a hotel without having like a dad. Like he was pretending his dad was coming or something, like he was doing. I thought so. I thought the first time he got kicked out of the hotel is because he wasn't old enough.
No, it's because his check bounced.
Home.
No, it's because his check bounced. And he's like, well, where am I supposed to go? You're a kid. Go home. Reasonable. You're 16 years old. But it's the 60s New York. It's full of 16-year-old kids who were kicked out or who left to go fucking smoke dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the village. Well, he sees an airline pilot and who is treated like a celebrity. He's like, ooh, I've got an idea. I'll be airline pilot, then I celebrity.
But you're right. Like, where is he during this time? In a trash can?
Yeah. Well, it cuts from him getting kicked out of one hostel and now we see him at a desk in another hotel room or whatever. I don't know. He's figuring something out.
Yeah, he's sharp.
He's like, he pretend to be a high school reporter interviewing an airline employee or an airline executive about what do airline pilots do and what do they need to know.
Where do you get that fucking camera?
Where?
He's traveling heavy.
Plot hole. We never see how he got the camera.
Nope.
And starts cashing checks around town. Buddy runs out of places to cash them, so he realizes I need to go to the airport. Well, that's not the.
Well, he can only cash a certain amount unless he's but he can only cash them because Pan Am is such a trusted name, right? So it's like he wasn't able to cash them at all.
Yeah,
and the pilot thing was like, okay, you're being trusted because your company is trusted. These checks don't bounce.
Yeah, they show it like why it's escalating, and it's never because of greed. He just realizes, well, this isn't working, so I need to try something else. So it's like, first we're not going to
always greed.
We can cash $300 if it's a payroll check. It's like, so I need to forge a Pan Am check. Okay, well, I just mean it's not like he independently comes up with these ideas. He's just sort of circumstances are forcing him into them.
I don't agree, but okay.
I'll forge Pan Am checks, and then he goes to the bank and they're like, sorry, we're out of cash. Why don't you go cash it at the airport? He's like, well, who cashes checks at the airport? And he's like, well, pilots. They do it all the time. So
pilots do not cash checks at the airport.
That's what this guy says.
No, he says, he says he meant who at the bank. I mean, who at the airport will give me money for my check?
Oh, right, the airline.
Right, not you don't go to a pilot and be like, money.
I meant pilots get their checks cashed at the airport.
You're dumb.
So this is, okay. I'll take my pilot show on the road. Oh, there's the scene where he gets the uniform. He has his big con to get the uniform, and he gets it from the guy who's like, sorry, we don't take checks or cash. We just take it out of your payroll.
Even
check.
better.
And he says, even better.
You just got to write your number there. I'll make up a number.
And this is a big laugh line from Frank Abagnale speeches. He said it in every one, and it always got a giant laugh. And even I kind of laughed. Like, no, you.
What, when he says even better?
When he says and they told me that they didn't take checks. I said, do you take cash? No, we don't take cash. What do you take? We just take it out of your paycheck. And I said, even better.
Wow, you're right. That's uproariously funny.
You got to be there.
I got to smell that smell and be in his presence. You're right. You bring up a good point. He does not mean to. I mean, it wasn't his intention to start flying around on a plane. He just goes to cash his check at the desk and are you my deadhead? I'm your deadhead. And then that plot starts to happen.
That's what I mean. Like things just happen to him, causing him to take the next step.
Right, but he's investigating these things. He's learning on purpose.
As he's doing his little forgeries, now the John Williams Beauty and the Beast theme comes in. Oh, my toy airplane. Pan American Airlines.
Are you trying to sing Beauty and the Beast because you're not selling it?
Let's just hear the Beauty and the Beast.
No,
song.
that was Jesus Christ.
There's something sweet and almost kind.
Yeah, I hear it.
But he was mean and he was coarse and unrefined.
Okay, I hear
And
it.
now he's dear.
Oh my god.
Wait for it.
So unsure. I wonder why.
Did you hear that? Airplane.
There was not an airplane.
No.
Okay.
Listen again. He goes to the are you my deadhead? What? Get on this plane. They just put him on the plane. Now he's a deadhead. And he uses his airline pilot's costume and his chiseled good looks to fuck a stewardess.
Well,
But we see-
luckily he gets on a plane with the horniest stewardess, so that she really kind of helped him through that first.
Marcy. And we cut to them having sex, and she's just like in orgastic ecstasy at this
It's
16-year-old.
his first time too.
Just like probably dry humping her knee,
Okay, wait, but
pre-coming all over her leg.
okay. What is the name of the real life stewardess?
Paula something.
Okay, just curious. Like that'd be fucked up. He's like, call this one Paula.
Yeah, no, Marcy. George Lucas, Marsha. So what happens then? Well, things are going great. He goes and meets a young Elizabeth Banks at the bank, who's working at the bank, to learn more about how checks work. And she tells him, like, this is the routing number. It refers to a Federal Reserve branch, and this is how you forge a check using these numbers. And he's like, oh, okay, good. And it's starting to get the attention of the FBI. Now we go, finally, Tom Hanks comes into the movie for real and explains the thing about the Federal Reserve
float.
System. The float. This is how the float works. The routing number refers to the part of the country where your check's ultimately going to go. He's on the East Coast. He sends the check to San Francisco. It takes about 2 weeks for the people who he's written checks to realize the check bounced. And that's all the scam is just
Brilliant.
Just stay 2 weeks ahead of everything.
Life before computers.
Yep.
But like a child, he's not satisfied with his success unless he can show his daddy.
Mm-hmm.
So he, the movie's punctuated, or what is it called? Peppered with
Mm-hmm.
these moments where he's trying to get his mom and dad back, because in the back of his head, he's probably telling himself, this is all worth it. It's okay that you're doing this. You're just trying to get your mom and dad back.
Well, and he literally says to his dad, like, I'm going to get it all back. The furs, the cars. It can be
But
just what it was.
The dad never sets him straight, though. It was really shit parenting. It's like, your kid's clearly on a mission, clearly thinks this is going to actually help. At any time, you could say, no, she's remarried already. You've been gone 3 weeks. She's remarried already and has a child. Like just all these things he could have just told him.
I think at this point she's not remarried.
I know, but he knows.
But he even says, like, I'm not giving up on her. Like, he still thinks he's going to win her back.
Adding the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't ever let his son off the hook. He strings him through this. And then all of a sudden he's like, whoa.
I know. The son even says, like, tell me to stop, please, and I'll stop. And his dad's like, you can't stop. You'll never stop.
Right, because he's just projecting.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, no, I can't stop. I just got caught. And now that I'm caught, I'm bored as fuck.
Yeah, he's a mailman now.
He's probably definitely looking at mail, though. That's not his.
No, and that'll entertain you for a while, but then what?
You steal it.
But then what? So the dad believes him at this point because he's like, I'm a successful airline pilot and I got a Cadillac for you.
Yeah, but I go back and forth by thinking like I think the dad knows the whole time, like, none of this really makes sense, but like, good on you. You're figuring something out. Whatever it is you're doing, you're making money and you're doing it my way, which makes me happy.
Yeah. Where you going tonight, Frank? Someplace exotic.
Yeah.
Someplace
village.
exotic.
Knock, knock.
My favorite moment in the movie, we go check in with Tom Hanks and his two little henchmen,
Mr. Fox.
Mr. Fox and Mr. I don't know, what's the other guy's name?
Haggerty. I don't know.
Avignon.
Okay.
And they're like, boss, you're so serious. And he's like, do you want to hear a joke? Knock, knock. Go fuck yourselves.
Okay.
It's so good.
It is good.
It's so great.
It's still, I do like how the movie also kind of shows you the progression of the FBI giving a shit about this kind of crime. It's like they needed to pass some sort of dollar amount for people to really start paying attention. And this is where you learn that the other agents who are doing this work are there because they were punished from some other kind of thing that they actually wanted to do. So he's pulling along a couple of guys that don't even care about what they're doing. And he's, for some reason, giving status conferences to, the whole group of FBI people just so that they can give him shit about it. I don't even know why he's got to keep them up to date.
Yeah, because he's telling them like, these are how routing numbers work. And they're like, oh, come on, Carl. My wife handles the checkbook.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if these guys aren't on your team and they're all working their other stuff, are you not going to sit down and they're going to rotate in and be like, so this is how the decapitation came off of the head here? And they like, do they each just do like a little show and tell? Like, you're all on different cases.
I think this was his idea. He's like, I want to give a presentation.
Maybe so, yeah.
I want people to take me
Smart.
seriously.
Yeah.
This is the first, we come upon the first time when Hanratty and Abagnale meet at a hotel in Los Angeles. How does he find him there, though?
At a hotel. Which hotel is this one?
Just the little hotel.
No. Tell me what happens in the scene. Is it
where Tom Hanks and
the blind
DiCaprio
guy
are the blind guy meet each other in the hotel room.
Yeah.
And DiCaprio says, I'm Barry Allen, Secret Service.
Okay, so it's the last floater that has been reported or found is for this hotel. This is the hotel that reported this check that bounced. So they go there to just like, this is the freshest person to have seen this guy. Let's talk to him. And then the guy's like, well, I just don't want anyone to disturb my customer. He hints that he's still there. And he's like, wait, he's still fucking here. Like, he didn't expect him to still be around. It'd been a long time. And that's it.
Yeah. And then the great scene where Frank pretends like Carl comes into the room, hands up. He's like, you're too late. We just got him. Pretends to be a Secret Service agent named Barry Allen.
No sense. But yeah.
I love that first he hands him his wallet, which he anticipates Tom Hanks won't look into.
And that he can't get it open, but he's not going to make a big deal about opening it.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't catch that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It's got a trick button. Yeah. Yeah. He's like screwing around with it the whole time, but he's like more focused on what they're saying. And he's not trying to be a total dick and like, I can't open this. He's trying to be a manly man that can figure out how to open a wallet.
Well, I like that DiCaprio then says like, can I see your ID, please? It's just funny that he turns the table on him like, can't be too cautious these days. And then he gets away and Hanratty realizes he's been got.
And he gets very embarrassed. And it's at this point that you realize, okay, so Hanratty does not have endless resources. There are stakes. He can't just go around and fuck up over and over again. Everyone, well, they're about to know how young he is, and that even adds to it. That, you're so close to retirement. You have a great past. You always get your man. Do you really want to end it on someone you might not get and someone that's going to embarrass the shit out of you until you retire? Yeah, because you just think, oh, he's a cop. That cat has to keep chasing this mouse. He doesn't. There's stakes. He has to think about that. For whatever reason, now we go to a scene where Frank encounters a call girl at 3 a.m.
Played by Jennifer Garner.
And I don't really understand the point of this scene except for that he can spend $1,000 on fucking.
Well, I mean, he's meeting another con artist of a sort, and she's. Does she just wait in the hotel hall room all night? Is this all a coincidence?
Pretending to like be going into that room, but
yes,
maybe I won't go in this room. Maybe I'll go in your room. Oh, that would be a good con.
And then she saw him and then thought this could be a mark. But you said, you said like, how does this scheme work for her? Like, when exactly does she propose? You pay me for sex. This isn't like a
right. You just seem really flirty with him. You don't seem like you're a call girl. You're wildly attractive. He's wildly attractive, but.
I think this is like a high-end call girl situation where you only have to close like one transaction a month to make a profit. So she probably
is only at the plaza, is only upstairs really late at night, catching someone who's like not making great decisions. Maybe he's a little drunk. I'm sure this is what she does. She works this hallway. And
then most of the time the guys turn her down.
No, they probably say yes, because if they're awake that late, they're tired or drunk, and they're probably just like, this is easy sex. I could probably go get some sex, but this is easy sex right here, right now, and she's a model.
I thought we were going to have sex. Now I find out I have to pay for it, but you're already here.
I already have a wallet.
I've already committed to,
right.
Okay, yes.
We're at the plaza. I already have my, so yeah, it's pretty smart, actually.
And she's like, how about you propose how much to pay me for sex? He's like, $300, and she throws a card at him, $400. Till he gets to she gets to 1,000. Gotta tell you, it was kind of working on me. If you made me pay you for sex and it was very expensive, it'd be kind of hot. Then
noted.
Then, but at the same time, she's like, what do I get for $1,000? You get me all night.
Well, and it's like that. And then I said,
how good could it be?
Immediately, I said, that's a long time. Do you have to stay? I'd like to just kind of sleep in my bed after.
Eh.
I just, what tricks
Gotta get
does
your money's
she
worth.
have?
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
She's
how
too
much
pretty.
more?
I'll just take the one time, ma'am. Do I have to make you come?
You don't have to. No, not for that. No, I mean,
You know, how much decision making does he get? God, she looks fucking insane. Amy Adams looks crazy in this movie.
after he has sex with Jennifer Garner and cons her out of money because he just gives her a forged
I
check.
forgot about that.
He's lonely, so he calls Carl Hanratty.
He can probably cash. She can cash it. She'll just cash a bad check and she'll get away with it, not knowing she got away with anything.
She'll get the cash. Okay, the bank that cashes it will be fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, he never fucked over little people.
No.
He calls Carl Hanratty because he's sad, and
On Christmas Eve.
he tries out the Yankees line on Hanratty. He's like, "Why do the Yankees always win?" And Hanratty says, "Mickey Mantle." With the pinstripes. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, and it's a good little window into like, if you had a normal dad, this would not make sense to you either. You are a fucking brainwashed little weirdo.
And there's just like so many other answers you could give, like, because of Yankee Stadium. Like, yes, Yankee Stadium, the toughest place to play in the Bronx.
Yeah, but that doesn't make the point. The point is just distract them. Just distract people for long enough for you to get away with something. That's all that means.
Hanratty then realizes he's like looking at, for some reason he has a list of Barry Allens, and a diner waiter's like, "Oh, you like comic books too because of The Flash." Mm-hmm. And Hanratty's like, "He's a kid. He's got to be a kid. He reads comic books." If this came out today, it'd be like, he's a man between the ages of 18 and 49.
Right. Anyway, so he narrows it down because he said the thing about the pinstripes, and now he's like, look in New York for anyone with like a missing kid, and then boom, finds them. They finds them pretty easy, it seems like. But it's too late. So he goes knocking on the last known residence to find this boy, but he's already moved on to working at a. Maybe I'm misremembering.
No, he's in Atlanta now. He has a nice. He's in his Wolf of Wall Street phase, hosting giant parties at his awesome 1960s house in Atlanta. Somebody gets in an accident in his pool, so he goes to the hospital.
Someone gets in an accident and falls into the conversation pit, breaks his ankle. Lance. So he goes to check on Lance at the hospital. That you're right. He just wanders into this hospital for an actual reason, and he meets the most glorious red-faced crier he ever did see, but she's so young and probably reminds him of girls his age, and it's comforting to see somebody on his level.
Well, this is very young Amy Adams as Brenda. She's a nurse, and she's a very insecure nurse. And yeah, because she has braces, she's probably too old to have braces, but the braces makes him think like, I can relate to her. She's actually she seems like she's my age.
She might be though, because she was thrown out of the house for getting pregnant and having an abortion. So she could just be in a situation like him where she needs a job and she's too young to really be in the workforce.
I always read it as she's 18, like she's older than him.
Maybe.
I don't think they're both 16, but it doesn't really matter.
It matters if she thinks she's dating a 29-year-old doctor, yes. Yeah.
He's like, don't be sad. I bet you're good at your job. No, I'm not. I love her in this movie. She keeps covering her mouth because of her braces, and she's so shy, and he's a pretty man talking to her.
Yeah, she's adorable. But she inspires him to become a fake doctor just so he can be around her. Like he instantly is like, this is it. This is my kind of pushover. Adorable.
So he just fakes a degree. He's like, yeah, I've got a Harvard degree. And like, well, you want a job? He's like, yeah, all right. And then he works at this hospital.
As long as I can pick my own nurses. It's like, that's not a fucking thing. But then he does it.
He does it for 5 minutes, and he knows what he's doing because of watching television. And this is what the real Frank Abagnale said. He's like, I just read a book, and then that was that. You just tell them what they think they're going to hear, and it's eating nothing. It ain't nothing. Can you give me any more information about how you did it?
People. They'll do the work for you. You just gotta pick people. You gotta pick the right places. I'm babysitting these here doctors. They're eager to please. They're the ones that haven't proven themselves, not me. It's smart if that were true.
So she's like, well, my parents live in New Orleans, but they've disowned me because I had an abortion. And he's like, well, what if I took you home and said I was going to marry you? Oh, Frank. So they go to New Orleans and meet Martin Sheen, the father, and the mother, who's played by an actress I don't know, but he's a big, strong lawyer. And Frank Abagnale's like, I think I'll be a lawyer too.
In fact, I was one for 1 year in California.
Oh, right. And then thought, why not give pediatrics a try? But one of my favorite scenes is him. They make him say the blessing, or they say grace. Are you a Lutheran, Frank? Yes, I'm a Lutheran.
I just feel like that gag's in too many movies. So you're religious, or you're down with this religion? Okay, say grace, motherfucker. I feel like that's also in Meet the Parents. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've seen it up several times. Let us know in the chat. No,
you're right. Yes, it is a trope. I think because of how he handles it, it's a very interesting, funny scene, but is also a little like he's just a smooth operator. But he gives them this very he just tells the story about the mice falling in the bucket of cream.
They churn that butter to cream.
And the mother's like so in awe of this. They just churn that cream into butter.
Yeah. They just turn that cream into butter. I was trying to do it.
Martin Sheen like seems like he suspects him at first.
Yeah, but then he's also kind of like, fuck it. This is good enough to take Brenda. Fucking Brenda.
With her braces.
It's shot like Citizen Kane for some reason during this time. He is so big.
Well, you're looking at this still of Martin Sheen being shot from
But they
below.
show him like this three times. Like
yes.
Martin Sheen looms large.
Yeah, he's this terrifying presence to Leonardo DiCaprio before he reveals himself as a big softie.
Yeah. A romantic.
But the FBI...
Oh, that's the sweetest little photo you've got there. Look how cute Leo looks. Look how he's just like having a great time on the sofa.
Yeah, that's the scene where he's sitting with Martin Sheen and they're all watching...
KLW. Does anyone understand Kelly?
Sing along with Mitch.
Kelly the child. It's fine. I had a feeling you researched this.
I was like, what is this song? What are they watching? It was just this sing-along show where the whole point of the show was everybody in this audience sing songs together and the lyrics are on screen. You sing too. And then this guy, Mitch, would publish albums, including Is Anybody Here Sing Kelly? Kelly of the Emerald Isle. And this family is so delighted to sing it. And DiCaprio, why don't you know the words? And then he just starts doing it.
Screen. Didn't you also pass the bar? Are you smart or aren't you?
Well, just one little thing about this show. I read it's one of those Mandela effect sort of things where people remember there being a bouncing ball on the lyrics, but they're like, no, there was no bouncing ball.
Oh my God.
No. They would never happen. You're thinking of other things.
That is advanced graphics that would not have been available in New Orleans at the time.
Right. So, Frank, now an assistant prosecutor for the city of New Orleans, and he gets all his moves by watching a trial lawyer on TV.
Which is not the same as transactional law, my guy.
But he's a prosecutor. He's an assistant prosecutor.
Yeah, where he's put in the contracts department. He says that.
He is? Mm-hmm. For prosecuting? Prosecuting contracts?
Yeah.
Like what?
If you break them.
You break your but that would be a civil violation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might be conning right now.
There's a preliminary hearing where he addresses a jury who isn't there and a defendant who isn't there, and the judge is like, son, what in the hell is wrong with you? It's like way too broad and comedic a scene for this movie.
It is weird. It's out of place. Also, every kind of profession is a small network of people, especially the what the hell?
Legal?
No. What is it, Dad?
He's
Attorney General. Attorney General with
district attorney.
That too. With this judge, they'd golf together. They would know each other very well. You're one phone call away from being found out, you idiot.
But there's almost
stupid.
but him being the son-in-law is a defense like that.
Right.
No, I can't. He's the district attorney. I can't give him guff for his dumb son-in-law.
Why'd he yell at him then? That son could go tell him, hey, that guy's a real dick.
No, you're right. You're right.
All right. Just which is it? So then what happens?
Well, there's a scene where he goes and meets his dad again. This time the dad is more like he lets him lie for a little while, but then he's like, son, the FBI came to me. They're after you. They're getting close, but they're never going to catch you because you're too good. He's like, Dad, just tell me to stop and I'll stop.
He's just living vicariously through him.
Yep.
He was not good and he was not so good he didn't get caught. The IRS fucking caught his ass.
And they are getting close. They find out that he's getting married. Well, because he calls Carl again. He's like, please just stop.
Leave me alone. Mm-hmm.
Truce. I'll stop committing crimes. And you stop chasing me. I'm getting married. I just want to live a normal life. But he knows he's in Louisiana because he rented a car in Louisiana. He's like, we're just going to look for wedding announcements. And then they find him, track him down to this engagement party. And Frank knows they're there, so he pulls Amy Adams up to the bedroom, has boxes full of suitcases full of cash. He's like, run away with me. I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. I'm not a Lutheran. He tells her all this stuff. And then very funnily, she's like, you're not a Lutheran. The wind has caught the money and it's like swirling around in the air. I'm pretty sure this is a reference to Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, in which money flies around in the air in a very beautiful image. Right. But he's like, meet me at the airport in 2 days in Miami. Here's where you got to be. I love you. Bye. Kind of like our podcast. I love you. Bye.
It's just like that.
And, but when he gets to the airport to meet her there, she's there.
She's crying and that doesn't look totally great to him.
She's got the cops with her.
She doesn't have the cops with her.
Well, she's turned.
They forced her. I'm just saying. She clearly wasn't a willing participant.
Why do you say that?
Just crying. She's really upset.
She could have volunteered and still be upset about it, that she's and mourning the life she's not going to lead that she thought she was.
Yeah, just saying. She didn't like, I'm pissed. I'm bringing the cops. You just said it wrong. Anyway, so he pulls up and he smartly notices that there's just a million fucking agents. So he comes up with a plan, Matt. What is it?
This is what he does. This is now what he does. Instead of driving to another international airport,
I see.
He starts doing his scheme in Miami so that he can return to the airport now with 8 stewardesses on his arm to distract everybody.
It's got to be that they know the car he's in or something, right? Or like there's some other way for them to track him. He just needs to get in the air.
Again, Tom Hanks says it's because he won't do it because he knows I'm here. He wants to slip by me.
Yeah.
It's a psychological obsession with me.
That's why the cat and mouse theme totally works for this movie.
Okay.
I mean, it's the only person that's taking note of all the things that he's doing. His own dad doesn't seem very interested in the details, and it wouldn't be very safe for him to know him anyway. It's, all we ever want is someone else to know that we did stuff, to record our lives. That's why we stay connected to people who we grew up with and only knew us as a child, even if they're shit. It's like, yeah, but I need them to exist or else I didn't.
Mm-hmm. The real Abagnale claimed he really did this. He took 10 college women
they were in
to Europe for 2 months and they'll get college credit for this.
So
just
stupid.
write to Pan Am. They'll give you credit. It's like, no.
What? Okay, you didn't really hurt real people. That's a dick fucking movie. They had to retake that semester, sir.
That's true. But he's like, no, we had the time of their lives. They were like movie stars in Europe.
What's the fucking... I don't understand the understanding of the man that wrote this part of like, yeah, these are college women. Of course, their goal is to be a stewardess, which does not take a college degree. Smart. Brilliant. They're not like co-pilots or something. Like stewardess isn't a step into being a pilot. It's just a fucking stewardess.
Yeah, I don't know. And there were things like he did take pictures with women and claimed like, these are my photo shoots from the with the stewardesses in training from 1968 or whatever. And then they'd see like, but there's a Mr. Pibb can in the background and Mr. Pibb wasn't invented until 1973. There's stuff like that. Anyway, he just does this to give Hanratty the slip. And he goes to France.
Pinstripes, baby. Pinstripes.
Now it's many, many months later. He's in the village where his mom grew up and where his mom and Frank Sr. got together. And he's...
What is this circle you have around some gentleman here?
Well, this is when Frank eventually gets arrested, some French cops show up and the one who physically apprehends him is Frank Abagnale himself playing a French cop. Isn't that fun?
Why would they do that?
Just a fun little cameo.
It's not supposed to be a cameo. You're not supposed to see it.
No, this is for
I thought you meant it's Christopher Walken. I'm like, why would Christopher Walken just be like? I mean, I know it's not his character, but like they use Christopher Walken twice, just for fun.
Just for fun. It's like Mars Attacks with Jack Nicholson.
Okay, now I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
got it.
Okay, so Tom Hanks tracks him here. He apprehends him in a printing factory and DiCaprio is like super manic and he's like, "Hey, you want beans, Carl? You want beans?" And he's like, "Oh, come on, cut the shit. Let's just get going. I'm gonna arrest you. I'll be nicer to you than these fucking French." And Frank is just ranting and raving about beans and stuff, but eventually he gets him to go.
But here's the problem about being a con man is that you always you project, right? It's the way you make it okay for yourself to be doing it. You decide everyone's doing it all the time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he doesn't really believe Hanratty because he's like, this is a good one. You're pulling a good one. This is a good one. And then he finally comes around. But the instinct is to just assume everyone's a little shit.
Yes. What is the
That
phrase?
makes it okay.
A thief always thinks everyone's a thief. Something like that.
Beautiful phrase.
They're on the plane back to America, and Carl tells him his dad is dead. And he's like, no, my dad, I love that guy. So he runs to the bathroom, and they think he's just in there crying and stuff. But eventually the plane has to land, and they realize he's escaped through the toilet. Now they see him running on the ground, and he runs all the way to his mom's house in wherever on Long Island.
Before cell phones, am I right?
Right. And then he gets sad because he sees his mom is remarried and now has a new child and has totally forgotten him.
He's sad, but I mean, he's more like, just like, this is crazy. I've got a fucking sister. He seems kind of pumped. He's got a sister in a way.
Well, he's like, life outside of my world went on.
I guess.
There is a reality and I am separated from it, but now I'm confronted with it.
And now I've brought the cops to arrest me in front of my little sister. Shit.
And they're fine. They're fine. This is a memorable Christmas for them. So Hanratty arrests him, takes him to prison. He's sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, but Hanratty visits him because they're good friends and then starts consulting with him on check fraud. Hey, do you want to come work for the FBI? You can leave prison. Okay. But like they start, so he works with them for a week and he's just, he's bored. He's finds it awkward.
I don't think it's a week. Or the first day he's there, he's like, Carl, how long do I have to do this? And he said, till you're done. Or is it, he just found himself in a new prison.
Okay. I just wanted your thoughts on that. Like, it is a week that he works in this office. What specifically is he chafing at? Like, this place is holding me here, that I'm a criminal and these people know I'm a criminal.
Well, no, he's water, right? He's like, he's wired to find the way around things, like there's a loophole. You didn't make this totally safe. I'm going to go around. I'm going to do this thing. And, the whole thing that was keeping him energized was being one step ahead. So when Carl doesn't show any interest in talking to him or including him in his weekend plans at all, he's got nothing. He's got no body, and Carl won't even be in town. He's like, well, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of my new daddy don't love me and or he's not as interested in me anymore because I'm not escaping anymore. Let me remind him what we used to have a little bit. There's a few little things.
I like that. It's
mainly he just needs to be energized again.
And he says, how long, like you said, how long do I have to do this till we're done with you? And it's like, now my only task is just do a job. I've only ever pretended to do a job. Now I have to do a job, and with no end in sight, just goes on and on and on. Now I have to be like everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, he's addicted to dopamine hits. I mean, any kind of adrenaline, anyone doing anything dangerous for a long period of time, they are not right afterward. And depression happens because you've like used up all your serotonin and shit.
Yeah. Yep. And then Hanratty realizes like, oh, he's going to skip town this weekend. And he goes and runs into him at the airport right as he's about to skip town as a pilot. And the whole time he's been asking, how'd you pass the bar? How'd you cheat on the bar in Louisiana, Frank? And Frank won't tell him. How'd you do it, Frank? How'd you pass the bar? And he still won't tell him. How'd you pass the bar exam? Frank was going to be in our Summer of Spielberg theme song. It was going to be the quote from Catch Me If You Can. Instead, we went with Two Mice Fell in a Bucket of Cream. It was going to rhyme with, from the movie Lincoln, it was going to rhyme with, now says Honest Abe.
Okay, no, I like what you got instead.
Me too, but Abraham Lincoln was always saying, now. So he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to chase you. You're going to be back for work on Monday. I believe in you. And then it's Monday, and he does, and they do. And then the titles say, they are best friends forever. And Frank Abagnale has saved companies tens of millions of dollars, and he continues to consult with the FBI today. And his website is www.frank.com. The end.
Yeah.
A film by Steven Spielberg.
So nobody would think, like, why would you lie about working with the FBI? The FBI would get angry at you. But they don't realize the FBI is also just a bunch of little departments. And they're all just fucking around doing what they do.
Truly, this is the one that baffles me, because it's like you contact them and they're like, no, he doesn't work here. Or you get, we don't comment on personnel. But if he's a government employee, that would be a public record. I don't know. It seems like the easiest to disprove of all. But they're just like, but he's just like an entertainer. So what do we care? Let him say what he wants. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
This is just fun. Stakes. So who gives a shit?
Right. He's not doing any crimes by lying in a sense.
He's only hurting in a sense.
Okay. I think I still need to go 4.5. I would have given it a 5, but you've ruined it. No.
With the true story?
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why that would matter. I don't know. I love the movie.
Because, like you said,
it's endlessly watchable.
But like you said, that it ending with the title saying these people are still friends. He did all this. That is the text of the movie, and so when you know that's not true, it does impact.
Yeah.
Even though generally, I think you should try to separate real world history from the movies about the real world history. This is a little different because this is based on fake history,
right? Which was possibly a heightened story, and it perks you up more to watch it because in the back of your mind, you do think some of this happened. And you're just deciding what parts based on how you feel in the moment. That's not real. That's real. That's real. That's real.
And the real Abagnale is like, yes, I mean, some of the stories are exaggerated. I wrote with a co-author. He said, this isn't a biography. This is just your story. We can get some of the stuff wrong. So you're like, okay, so there's going to be some changes. You're not thinking, oh, nothing in this is true at all.
Well, and again, if you don't pinpoint what the lies are, you get to just decide what you think the truths are. It's like the Bible.
Exactly.
Cherry picking. What about you?
Lily padding.
No, it's not lily padding. It's cherry picking. What about you?
What about me? Well, yeah, I don't know. This movie has actually gone down in my estimation over time. Not just because of the real life thing. In fact, not because of the real life story. It really doesn't. I'm not thinking about it when I'm watching the movie. I thought I would. Because I read the book, The Greatest Hoax by Alan Logan, and then watched the movie again and assumed it would affect the way I enjoyed the movie. But as soon as the movie started, I was sucked back in because it's a really fun movie. But there's just a lot of stuff that annoys me. There's a lot of like what I call schmaltzy Spielberg in this. A lot of people like repeating the same lines over and over again in really cutesy ways. I don't buy the emotional through line with the dad. I think it works more as him being a creep and a con artist who Frank Jr. emulates, but the movie doesn't believe that. The movie believes like this is a great little family that we have to fight to preserve. And I think the stuff with Hanratty's like family and he's like lying about his daughter, I think all of that's annoying too. Anyway, but I like DiCaprio. I love Tom Hanks. He's so good and so fun in the movie. And love Amy Adams. And I'll give this 3.5 stars. It's a very fun movie. But what's next for the summer of Spielberg, which is winding now to a close with only 2 episodes left. I'm sad.
And both are guests. Both are guest episodes. We will have Drooby Dooby movies.
On next week, August 16th, episode 125, Close Encounters
of
the Third Kind. A movie we've already covered on the show, but we're doing it again now that we know what we're doing. There's one of our listeners is listening to all our old episodes on YouTube, and he's commenting. He's like, "You didn't even talk about the movie in this one."
I know, we forgot to do that.
One of them's like, "Wait, where's the review of Twister?" It's like, oh, we mostly talk about like Helen Hunt and like
her boobs.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah,
we'll do it again. Actually, we have a commentary Twister episode if you join our Patreon that it does not exist yet.
Doesn't exist yet, but we'll announce that in the future.
Oh, get your purses ready.
Free talk to them. They'll tell you all about it. Okay, Close Encounters next week with Drooby Dooby's movies. Hey, tell a friend about our podcast. It will change your fucking life. It'll make you view things differently.
The more recent episodes, you go back too far and then it's dog shit.
It's okay. There's
people
stuff.
Still like those.
Yeah. Please give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Give us 5 stars.
Yeah,
why would you give us anything less?
Just don't even take your time. Waste it. Don't waste my time.
We have full video episodes on YouTube. It's the same product that you listen to as the one that you watch, but you get to see us talking about it. We're on the social medias. Matt Stokes9 on Twitter, LoadBearingPod on Twitter. Load.bearing.beams on TikTok, Matt Stokes9 on TikTok.
Sorry for the yawning. Sorry.
And LoadBearingBeams on Instagram.
Yes.
I'm on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes9.
And I'm on Letterboxd at LoadBearingLacey. Some random person is like slowly going through all of my reviews and liking them.
Oh, that's
nice.
nice.
It's like one every 2 days and it's the same person. I was like, that's nice. You must really be reading them. Nice for you to take some time in between.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Every at least once a week, we will get like when I look at our podcast stats, it's clear somebody just goes through our whole feed and is like, download that episode, that episode, that episode, that episode. It's cool that it keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like, even though you don't know who these people are, you can tell they're the
newer people,
Right.
right? Yes. Welcome. You don't know how much you mean to us.
You mean everything.
Don't tell them.
Oh, sorry.
They don't know.
The music on the show is by my band, Rural Route 9, RURAL
Oh, come on.
ROUTE9NIME.
Jesus Christ.
And that band includes me on vocals and guitar, Wade
Logo art
Hemo
by
on
Lacey.
drums, Lacey on the graphic design, Patrick Pro on bass. Our album is The Joy of Averages. You can check it out on Spotify and Apple Music or wherever you get your music. And I want to thank Wade and also TJ Barons for helping us produce the Summer of Spielberg theme song. Thank you so much, everybody.
I love you. Goodbye. Wait. Caleb, goodbye.
Three, four. Everybody, love Mary Kay.